Let's talk first to Johnbosco Nwogbo from We Own It, a group which campaigns for more public ownership and would like to see energy firms nationalised. Johnbosco, is this really the solution? Because in hard times, it means that people would be also taking on a lot of debt and a lot of risk.
Well, I think it's quite clear that this is a solution, but I think it's really important to kind of frame the problem. The problem at the moment is not necessarily the fact that energy bills are going through the roof. That is a problem, but the real problem is that people are unable to pay for it, right? So we are seeing grandma and grandpa, people on pensions, single mothers. We are seeing disabled people unable to pay their bills. And as you say in your kind of introduction there, it's all right when the temperature is hovering around 20%. But of course, we know that the winter is around the corner and it's going to pose a serious problem. So in essence, the point I'm making is that we should be looking at solutions that will cut people's energy bills. And analysis show that public ownership models across Europe are able to guarantee 20 to 30% less bills than private ownership models like the one we are running in the United Kingdom.
Let's have a delve into that because, you know, even under the public ownership system of full nationalisation, it would essentially mean the taxpayer having to pay the same wholesale prices that we're seeing now. And at least in the private sector, some of the big companies are able to hedge against fluctuations in the market, potentially absorb some of that. In hard times, they're the ones who have to shoulder the burden. In good times, they get rewarded with profits. And also, it's a fantastic entity upon which we can strap things like pensions. Would not nationalising it actually suddenly put the burden on the taxpayer? And when there is a crisis, when wholesale prices go up like they're doing now, that we still have to pay them?
Well, I think you kind of answered your question there. If in good times, the private companies make billions of pounds in profits, in bad times, such as what we have now for people, it is the government that's actually carrying much of the load. It's not the private companies. They're smiling all the way to the bank. Just to highlight something a bit wrong with what you said earlier, in other countries around Europe, such as in France and Norway and Italy and Germany, where energy bills are significantly lower than they are here, despite global energy prices going up everywhere. France, for example, has been able to keep their energy rises at just 4% at a time when our energy bills are going up by more than 80%. And they're able to do so because they have a publicly owned energy generation and supply company called EDF that is able to absorb a lot of those costs. And one thing that's really, really important to keep in mind here is that under a public ownership model, the billions of pounds that get sucked out in profits every single year, if we took National Grid into public ownership, for example, we could save 3.7 billion pounds every single year. If we took, say, a company like a UK Power Networks, the distribution company that supplies in London, the Hong Kong billionaire owner of that company, Lee Ka-shing, took out 237 million pounds from that company in dividends last year. That is money that could instead be going back into the system to subsidize the bills of families instead of being sucked out into the pockets of private shareholders across the world.